Hi, hello. Welcome to Diploma Sports, an intelligent intersection of politics and sports. My name is Nick, and my friend Ghost Politics is on the line. We will be discussing the election as well as touch base about the NFL season so far and look ahead to how the NBA season has started. Our goal here is to have a deeper, intelligent conversation about everything ranging from Trumpism to Super Bowl odds. Just to introduce myself, I am a liberal tree-hugging socialist who believes climate change should not be ignored by our new president. My longtime friend Ghost views the world a little bit differently, but I will let him go from there.
Oh
Hello.
yeah. Hi there. I'm Ghost Politics. I'm here to crash that intersection and keep and bring some interesting light upon these topics. I think climate change is still an open discussion. I think there's a lot to be said about the forecast itself, the forecasts that have been made by scientists and the sources of funding. But most importantly of all, that we need to figure out is, can we fix it in the future, and do we need to destroy our current economic potential to deal with it in the present? So, I will also be talking about sports, my much more limited knowledge of sports, and my current growing knowledge of politics, thanks to this election and all the exciting memes and pepes that were thrown around that have jump-started my interest in politics, to which I normally was not that interested. So, take us away, Nick.
All right. So I guess my first question is ultimately the election, and it's a very simple question: what the hell happened? Ultimately, I mean, you were pretty much the only person I ever talked to that said that he had a chance, that even said that this was possible. I remember vehemently telling you that you're crazy and that you don't know anything about politics because, field numbers and fundraising and et cetera, et cetera. Just as a disclaimer to people, I worked as a political field organizer, so I do kind of believe in the process a little bit. To look at this election, Hillary Clinton had a better ground game, meaning she had much more presence in a lot of these communities up until, of course, the last 2 weeks when it mattered the most. She also spent a ridiculous amount more money from special interests, but that's another discussion. And ultimately, most people thought she would easily win because how the hell could Trump have won? And my friend here on the other line disagreed with me from the beginning, and he was ultimately right, and us liberals have to eat it. So the floor is yours to feed me, I guess.
All right. So my background is actually I was a financial analyst. I worked in equity research, which basically means I looked at publicly traded companies and came up with forecasts for how well I think they're going to perform and what their value should be. Now, the reason why you all have egg on your face, actually it's an omelet by now, it's probably roasted a bit in the glory of the coming Trumpenreich that is, that is to be. But what happened was, pollsters lied to you. And this wasn't just ignorance. This wasn't ignorance, right? They assumed that Hillary Clinton was a more aspirational and inspirational candidate than President Obama. Well, let's be honest. I mean, Obama is way more inspirational. He had very little baggage. He was new. He was fresh. He didn't have his name on a lot of bills. It did not have the same baggage. Didn't have Bill Clinton as his baggage either. No, he was fresh. And they were assuming not only were the Democrats going to have better turnout than Obama won, but that they were going to be even better than that with Hillary Clinton. And I'm assuming their assumptions were based on, come on, everyone wants to vote for the first woman president, or on a major ticket, of course. A woman has run before now, but it wasn't a serious candidate. But it's first woman on the ticket for a major party. Also the first woman, sorry, not just woman, but human being under investigation by the FBI, not only once, but twice. Twice for treatment of emails and classified information, etc. But that's, that was something they tried to sweep under the rug, which fortunately, between Twitter and various social media sources, people were looking for themselves. And thanks to WikiLeaks, our good friend Julian Assange, please Trump, pardon Assange, as just an aside, but our good friends at WikiLeaks got to tell us what Hillary Clinton actually thought, or at least what her team assumed her thoughts were, or what they gathered from those conversations with Hillary Clinton.
All right, so let's go back to that. You just did the pardon Julian Assange thing. I'm actually still okay with that too. I think it's really interesting that with WikiLeaks, because he essentially, I mean, has said multiple times that he thinks Trump is a disaster, but yet still released in the name of transparency and sort of getting the information out there. So I think we should pardon him and Edward Snowden, but that's,
I agree as well. Even though I'm a crazy libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, right-wing extremist, I do think Edward Snowden should be freed. But I guess that's more the second half of of my political ideology than.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, at least we agree on that. Okay, the other point I wanted to make, and I think that this is a really key to it is not only was Hillary Clinton uninspiring, but I think that the Democratic Party itself was very arrogant, if you will. And I think generally speaking, moderate America, sort of the political class, the liberal elites, whatever you want to call them, were very arrogant to assume that rural America would just go out and vote for Hillary, because how could they possibly vote for Trump? And I almost just feel like they took that as a dare me to vote for Trump kind of thing, and and then just big F you to America. I mean, I think ultimately these people that have supported Trump, and there's a wide range of them, and apparently more minorities than I thought voted for Trump, and a variety of things of that nature. But ultimately, we really underestimated this, and I do ultimately agree that to a certain extent the pollsters were wrong, but I just think that people very much just underestimated this candidate and assumed that there are these conventional terms that you would follow. You can't really make fun of a military family, or John McCain, or all of these things that he did. We can argue over the merits of what he said and things like that, but he did say a lot of things that pissed off a lot of people. And somehow that didn't seem to matter. I mean, you can grow up as many women as possible, apparently, and not be disqualified.
All allegations unproven. Just want to be clear that we don't have an actual allegation proven. Just remember, this is what Gloria Allred did to Herman Cain in 2012, because he was the only black candidate running against Obama, and that would have been a much more difficult sell for Obama. Just bringing that there. A lot of this is Gloria Allred. A lot of it, I mean, I'm not saying he's never groped him. I'm not saying, what I'm saying is he is innocent until proven guilty. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to argue over this. I'm just saying, like, normally, I mean, how many presidential candidates have actually been even accused of it and survived, let alone proven? Like John Edwards. I mean, John Edwards is a terrible person, so I mean, he deserves everything.
What, leaving his crippled wife as she died of some horrible disease? Come on.
I think it was cancer. Like, yeah, he just can't do that. I mean, like, what is wrong with you? I mean, and he was someone who was like, oh yeah, he's a pretty good option other than John Kerry in 2004. But really, I'm just so glad that he was never near anything important for a long time.
Well, that's not a crime or illegal. That's just fucking immoral and terrible. Not,
Yeah. On another side, have you seen the Biden memes yet?
Have you? Okay, look. I've seen the Biden memes, and honestly, I have to say, as a follower of the Trump memes, they're really low energy. They're just not on the same level.
You had to say low energy.
I did. And hey, man, how do you destroy the Bush family? 2 words. Low energy. The Bush dynasty wiped out, stopped in their tracks with 2 words.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, Trump single-handedly defeated 2 dynasties. I guess we can kind of thank Trump now that we don't have dynastic politics anymore. I mean, the Bush family's not going to recover, certainly, and the Clinton family's definitely not. So, I mean, yeah, I guess we don't have to worry about, like, and then I guess, well,
in the Bush family's defense, in the Bush family's defense, I don't care for the Bushes. I think they're a bunch of neocon warmongers and a bunch of other adjectives and things. But I think it was funny that even Jeb's mother didn't want him to run. I thought that was just so funny. It was just like the Lady Bush, she did not want Jeb to run, and it's just like, well, that might tell you, like, her thoughts. I mean, what, she's watched one son win 2 elections and her husband win 1.5 elections, if not for Ross Perot or Ralph Nader, whichever one it was. I was born.
No,
I was
Perot at the time, I'm pretty sure.
Perot. If not for Ross Perot, probably a much closer race, but almost 4 successful elections. And then seeing her youngest son, like, ooh, Jeb, no.
I will say, I think the first Bush kind of got a rhyme to the deal. I feel like he was kind of a lot of what we would have seen if Hillary Clinton had won. Very like, hangover from Obama, and just kind of one term, kind of things seem to sputter a little bit, not necessarily their fault, but then people expect more, and you end up with Clinton in 1992. So
a little bit of my optimism, even, like, I was for sure Trump was going to win, but around before the Comey investigation was reannounced, I was kind of like, if Clinton wins, she'll probably be a one-term president because she's so unliked, and who knows what else WikiLeaks has on her. But then the Comey announcement, I was like, it's over. This is it. This is happening. Holy shit, this is happening.
You should have put some money on it. You realize the betting lines were like plus 375 on election day. You could have made some serious cash.
I could have, but I didn't have a lot of excess cash. Most of my money is in the market right now, and the stock I believe in, and I didn't have a lot of leftover cash to just make a bet. And it wasn't.
And I wouldn't have believed you if you had told me anyways. So
I was telling you for months he's gonna win.
Yeah, no, I should have. There was, I don't know if I told you this, but there was a moment. It was like 2 years ago. I was looking at betting odds to be president, and Trump was like 5,000 to 1 odds. And for people who don't understand betting odds, that basically means
That means
that
for every dollar you get 5,000.
exactly. So you could have put $100 bet on it and be set for a good portion of your life if you invest
500K or so, nothing to sneeze at. You know, I would just quit my job right now and say, "Fuck everyone! I'm just gonna put 100 grand in the market and just roll with it."
Yeah, exactly. So I saw that. You know who was above him on the list, like more likely to win at that point?
Who?
Abraham Lincoln. So just let that sink in for a second. A dead guy for 150 years had better odds for presidency 2 years ago than Donald Trump.
I don't have the strongest opinion of Abraham Lincoln, to be honest. I mean, some of the things I've learned about him, the Civil War being about, tariffs really and Northern protectionism versus, I don't have the most favorable position about him. I'm like, good that he freed the slaves. Yes, he did good things. He didn't have to do those things, but he did good things.
Well, anytime a president gets assassinated, I always feel like there's parts of their legacy that's just always going to be untold. And I feel like a lot of times, like JFK too, you could argue he gets a pass on a lot of things, and he also gets glorified.
He gets a pass from you guys because he cut taxes insanely and revitalized the economy. But everyone forgets because he got shot by some asshole on a grassy.
That's the whole thing. Is like he would have. Everybody assumes that if Kennedy hadn't been killed, or at least this is a common thing said amongst liberals, amongst my liberal friends, as we say, if Kennedy hadn't been assassinated, he, would be the greatest president ever, or whatever to that notion. And while I still kind of believe that, I mean, it is an interesting point that if you die early, but we are clearly getting way off topic.
Yeah, we're a bit off topic. So, but back to just what happened in this election is that all throughout, I'll just kind of sum it up best I can. All throughout these past, 5 years and election cycles, you've had all of these rural, blue-collar white voters in like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Iowa, and Wisconsin. They've all been told, and there's some people there who are bigots. All right, there's some people that have wrong views about society. But the vast majority of them, they've gone to public school. They've mingled with people of all different stripes. They've seen them on television. They've seen them in the news. They understand that they're just people like them. And then they see politicians like Hillary Clinton saying that all white people need to be lectured on how they're implicitly biased against other people, and that makes them racist automatically. They've all been told this constantly, and that they all have these backwards views just projected onto them by obnoxious liberal politicians who are preaching to coastal elites, where people who say, oh, those are the flyover states. That's the rural counties where the nobodies live, because they're preaching to them to try and get up the vote in California and New York, which I have no idea why they're doing that. I have no idea why you would push that agenda, unless you're going to try to get Miami to outdo the entire state. Maybe that was the plan. That might have been the plan. But the reality is most of these people, most of them are good people. And the ones who are bad generally are ostracized. Generally they're not treated well. Generally.
There's a reason they're on Facebook trolling everybody in the middle of the night, because they don't have any actual real friends or anything to really do.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, Trump basically told these people, okay, look, I know your healthcare premiums are going up. I know you're working more jobs for less money. I know all this, okay? It is not bigoted of you to disagree with Obama's direction for this country. It is perfectly okay for you to say, I think you're taking this country in the wrong direction, and it's not because you're a black guy, it's because you're making poor decisions. We think, we're seeing the outcome of your effects after that recession. We're seeing that the recovery is slower than it's been before, and we think that you have taken this country in the wrong direction, and they went to the ballot box and they said, we are not going to get 4 more years of you. We are going to try something new. Whether or not that's going to be great, whether or not that's going to be terrible, it's just we want a chance of something good. And that's what they told they told the country at the ballot box. That's my view of this.
No, and I think that's a pretty fair assessment. I think, while I can disagree with their assessment of Obama's term, while I can disagree with obviously yours and say that I think we're in a decent spot economically, and that I don't think you can blame the president. I think you can blame conservatives in Congress who have completely been ruining and not letting anything go into place. But that's a discussion for a different day. Ultimately, I think
we'll talk about the economy another day. I have a lot to talk about, and has a lot to do with interest rates and the inflated stock market and things like that. We can discuss that another day.
Yeah, I think, and just so our hopefully eventual listeners will understand, is we're gonna hopefully. I mean, this is kind of our first one, so it's going to be a little bit rusty. I'm probably looking away from the camera.
This is the testing ground. Okay, this is just take one, so to speak.
Exactly. So now we're just talking about the election because it's the most prevalent thing. But hopefully, we won't be talking on things that are so topical, and more just kind of focusing on specific issues that are obviously not, are more transcendent than just what's going on in the news today or something
Well, I
like
mean,
that.
of course, I'd like to, probably dedicate at least 20 minutes just like current events in case something big has happened. When the global elites inevitably try to assassinate Trump, we're going to have to talk about that. It's going to be a serious issue.
I really hope they don't, because I fear Mike Pence more.
I know, I love Mike Pence, not because I agree with anything he says, but because he's the ultimate deterrent. It's the ultimate.
It really is. No liberal, every liberal on election day that was like, wait, like, is someone going to assassinate him, please? We're just like, wait, no, please, somebody like, if you're going to knock him out, you got to knock him. And then if he chooses Giuliani for Secretary of State, we can't even get rid of Pence, too.
I know.
They're all crazy.
Oh, I think Giuliani did a good job, Derek. But that's a whole nother discussion. We're not going to get that far off topic.
Yeah, well, actually, technically, we can get that far off topic because my next thing that I wanted to talk about is Trump's cabinet choices.
Oh yeah, so let's go to cabinet choices. I have honestly not looked too much into them. I mean, I've got this.
Well, I mean, we only really need to hit the big highlights. Like, I need you to explain to me how Steve Bannon is a realistic and logical choice for anything.
I will go into the accusations of anti-Semitism that Steve Bannon gets. I can explain those.
Yeah, how is he not like?
So
like, I forgot his name, but who is Hitler's propaganda guy?
Oh, Goebbels.
Yeah, how is he not like the Goebbels of the Trump administration? How can you not see the parallels there?
I mean,
not saying that Trump is Hitler.
Okay, fine. There's certainly parallels with Goebbels. I'll concede that. But but let me just get into the accusations on Steve Bannon and try and clear up some of the misinformation.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
I'm
under the impression that he's a terrible person. So try to explain to me.
Okay, well, to you, he probably is. But here's the accusation of anti-Semitism comes from a divorce proceeding with his wife, where his wife claimed that he said he didn't want to send his daughter to some school in New York because it was full of whiny little Jewish girls. That's where the anti-Semitism accusation stems. Now, for one, it's a claim made in court, and even if we take it at face value, yeah, it's a kind of shitty thing to say, and yeah, it's kind of stereotypical, but it's not like he's some imam going, let's go wipe Israel off the map or something, or what the Ayatollah, or whatever head of state in the Middle East.
That's fair. I can understand. Yeah,
I mean that's not a fair
anti-Semitic thing to say, but I mean people have said Jewish jokes all the time.
Oh yeah.
I have a Jewish friend that I say a lot of Jewish jokes to. I mean, only because he's cool with it, obviously. I would never offend anybody. But,
yeah, and the accusations of...
I get it, but that's not... I mean, but he's got more stuff than that. I mean, there's plenty of articles that Breitbart is...
Oh, okay. I can explain the articles, okay? I can explain... Like, Fox News is putting up all, like, the outrageous headlines. All of those are Milo Yiannopoulos. Look him up. He's a fantastic and wonderful speaker to watch. He's a provocateur. That's what he does. He goes to college campuses and says things that are against the common mainstream narrative and gets a lot of criticism for it.
He's an intelligent troll, more or
less. Yes, yeah. He's a hilarious gay British troll from New York, and he writes these articles like birth control makes women insane, which there's actually some scientific evidence that it affects brain development, and unfortunately a lot of women are taking birth control drugs between the ages of 18 and 24, which is before your brain is fully developing, which is a whole nother topic, but he writes some outrageous articles. I'll concede that, and Bannon lets him publish those because Milo wants to be a provocateur. That's what he's trying to do.
And it gets clicks. I mean,
yeah, of course, that's the point. It's clickbait.
His turn to go for that. I mean,
it's part of clickbait.
I want to touch on your birth control thing for just a second because I do because while you could say that, like, I think that there's almost proof in that, in the fact that men were too afraid of the side effects of birth control that thing was discontinued.
Well, on a side note on that topic, I'd heard they were developing male birth control that didn't affect hormones, and if they had gotten that through, like a non-hormonal type birth control that you could take as men, like fuck condoms, fuck whatever the birth control women are taking, just have men take that. Like, I would much rather take that.
No, I'm on the boat.
I just want to get like the hormones and the mind-altering shit out of it. Because...
Well, I mean, I guess I just kind of feel like when you're messing with your reproductive system, it's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean... And I think, the moral of the story is just wear a fucking condom, you lazy shits.
or deal with... Yeah. No, okay.
Wear a condom or don't have sex. That's very simple to me.
On that. So, Bannon. Okay, so he's not... So you've defended those points decently. I can concede that that's not... then he's not disqualified on that end. But I don't know. I just feel like... I worry about Breitbart being that close to, like, Breitbart basically became mainstream overnight. Would you not agree? Like, it's pretty much now become...
Well, I think their Facebook engagements during the entire election cycle are what drove them to the mainstream. I mean, they were outdoing all the major networks. It's because, unfortunately, they were the only ones who would report on certain topics. They're the only ones who would report on the migrant crisis. And, you know, unfortunately, a lot of times when you report honestly on things, you get smeared as a racist, smeared as all these things. And it's like, look, this is what's happening. And yeah, of course, when they write their opinions, it's like, oh, they're all clearly right wing. But I think they do a very good job of reporting the facts.
Yeah, and see, I would argue that you have that on the left too. I mean, honestly, neither of us believe anything that cable news or anything in corporate news is providing. So I mean, that's just a given. Like, just for any listener out there to realize that my friend Ghost here gets his sources from alternative sources, and so do I. Neither of us go through CNN.
It's sad that I have to say I get a lot of my news. Sorry. It's sad I say I have to get a lot of my news from Twitter, from Breitbart, from certain Reddits, you know, and it's just like, I should not be having to get my news there. Like, I should not have to be the one who tells my family will tell me about, like, an outrageous story, like, 2 weeks after it's happened. When it finally makes its way into the news cycle, I'll be like, oh yeah, I totally heard about that. It's just they're finally reporting about it because either gotten too big to ignore, or it's just like, come on, guys, do your job. Like, yeah.
It's not a right-left thing, because I mean, the Dakota Access Pipeline, I mean, Democracy Now! Was reporting on that months before the CNN even got wind of it. I mean, as far as, like, issues like Edward Snowden, like, I mean, the way it was reported was just ridiculous on cable news versus, like Democracy Now! Or any sort of the left outlets. I'm sure, you know, like the Young Turks, which I know you despise.
Oh, I most of the time I see the Young Turks, I see people, like, laughing at them and criticizing how ridiculous some of their, because the Young Turks unfortunately have lost their minds a little. I'm a real big fan.
I'm not a huge. I mean, I listen to them when they come on their cast and stuff, but I'm not because I listen to Best of the Left, so every once in a while you'll get like a 15-minute Young Turks excerpt, and yeah, it always just seems like they're kind of like just yelling at you.
I'm a big fan of a former member of the Young Turks, actually, Dave Rubin. I'm a big fan of Dave Rubin. I think he puts out a lot of thought-provoking interviews that are just fantastic. Like, Dave Rubin interviews, like, he'll interview all these great people from both sides of an argument. Like, he had Joseph Epstein, who wrote The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels, and then he interviewed, what's his name? One of the huge climate scientists who's a big proponent. I think it was the guy who's trying the 4,000 parts per minute or something. He tries his best to get both sides of the argument. He tries to give people a fair hearing, and he'll have lots of different people on the show. I definitely would recommend looking into Dave Rubin. He was on Young Turks. He was the tall, gay Jewish guy, which could be anyone on the Young Turks.
I mean, I think the point is that anything that we can emphasize is that independent media is absolutely crucial to have any sort of an informed electorate. I mean, you could argue that either candidate, had Hillary won, we'd be saying that it was uninformed America that voted her in. And, you know, I can say the same thing about Trump being elected. And it's just like, we really live in a society where people just really don't know what's going on in their own world, nor do they even really care.
Yeah.
And it's pretty sad.
At the end of the day, I mean, what those workers in Pennsylvania and Ohio knew was, look, I'm losing my jobs. There's manufacturing jobs opening all over that 50-meter wide free trade zone in Mexico, and there's new factories popping up in China all the time, even though their economy is in was in a rocky state a while ago, yet still all of our jobs are leaving. They understand that, and it's like, you know, sorry, Hillary, we don't care about your no-fly zone in Syria, okay? We don't care if you want to shoot down Russian jets to overthrow Assad, okay? We don't care that the rebels were the ones who had the chemical weapons over Assad. We care that we're hurting. You know, they're hurting badly.
Yeah, no, exactly. Okay, so going on to the next thing, I think you mentioned something about talking about, like, sort of the Trumpism and the new populist movement. And I mean, that's kind of, I guess, my main thing, because I think now is time to kind of accept that the election's over. You know, you can whine, bitch, and moan about a variety of different things, voter fraud, or gerrymandering, or the stripping of the Civil Rights Act, or such and such and such. There's plenty of reasons why it was so close, but now it's more important to focus on 2018 and 2020. As somebody who is an aspiring Democrat, so moving forward. I mean, I think the Democrats just have to eat it on this one. That's why I have to accept certain things that you're saying. Before I wouldn't have thought that. That rural America would strike back like this. I didn't think that, a strategy that Trump would employ would be something that could win. And now I think that what I've been saying for years is something that's actually very much become true, is that Democrats don't actually stand up for what they believe. I think that they're always late to the party, at least as far as progressives are concerned. I mean, I've been saying things a long time that I just wish my public officials would say. And I think that, I mean, like, if you look at, like, guns, for example, I mean, Republicans are so quick. You're so quick to say that Democrats are coming for our guns and make these bold statements about, oh, they want to burn the Second Amendment, which isn't even true. Like, I would say for the most part, Hillary was really going to not do that much on guns. I mean, if you looked at her actual proposals, they were pretty minor.
Oh, I read her emails though.
Well, okay, but regardless of her public statements on it, what would actually been able to happen because of the strength of the NRA was pretty minor. But yet it was still, painted as this, she's coming to take your guns. And I think as much as Democrats try to be like noble and holistic, and we're not going to, go all, sell our image like that. I really think that it's time to play a game the same as the Republicans do. I think we brought a knife to a gunfight for too long. and ultimately, I think that not choosing Bernie Sanders and having us ultimately lose is proof of that. Because really, absolutely. Democrats were coward enough to not take the candidate that actually represented more of what more people in the party actually really want and would never actually publicly say they actually want. And yeah, so I think we have to eat it because we didn't choose the candidate that actually was a populist. We chose the corporate hack, and we lost. And we thought that we just assumed that people would just take her by default. And instead, they said, no, we want to take the person who's actually not funded by Wall Street, which is crazy to think that Trump is not the one Trump is the populist candidate.
Isn't it a wonderful world we live in that that the only person who can afford to run without tons and tons of lobbying money is a reality TV star / real estate mogul.
You know who Trump should be afraid of, though, and I do mean this kind of seriously and kind of
George Soros.
No, definitely not. Mark Cuban. Well, Mark Cuban is an actual billionaire who actually would carry Texas if he decided. He's a Republican, but if he decided to run as a Democrat.
Look, Mark.
I mean, he was pretty vocally anti-Trump. So
let me explain Mark Cuban for you. Okay, Mark. The difference between them and that Mark Cuban has liquid assets. The thing is, Trump has land that's worth billions of dollars. I don't think he could produce $1 billion check for Trump. I think it's because he's very highly leveraged in real estate. Just like most real estate developers like him.
Yeah, on paper they don't necessarily have as much, but if you look at everything, they're.
But he could like liquidate a few hotels and produce that check quite easily. He could just be like, okay, fine, fuck it. You Chinese investors, you want to buy my hotel? Here you go. All right, that he could do that.
Yeah.
But as for Cuban, I mean, I don't know what Cuban stands for. I mean, he'd basically be trying to run as Trump too. He'd be like, look, I'm a Republican, but he'd be trying to do what Evan McMullin tried to do in Utah. Look, I'm an ideological conservative like you all want to vote for. Therefore, you will vote, he'd be like, look, I'm a socially progressive Republican who wants to cut your taxes. I'm just doing what Trump did 4 years ago, but again.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about, what was I going to say? Basically, I was just going to paint the point that if Trump's successful, for example, then could anybody just be president? Like, is a Kanye 2020? If he has like a halfway decent run, is like Kanye 2020 like something that we laugh at as absurd? But I mean, now
I know I don't laugh at that as absurd. I don't laugh at that as absurd. No. The great yet chaotic thing about this, I mean, and everything's been chaotic / but the great and chaotic thing is, I truly believe now anyone with a big enough presence of popularity can be president.
The Kardashians could take the White House.
I think so. I think we could have Kim Kardashian as the first lady. I think that is a real possibility. We've opened Pandora's box.
And I'll also blame you for that if it actually does eventually happen.
Hey, man, I am willing to take responsibility for that.
Okay, well, I mean, that would be pretty funny. I mean, it would be also horrifying.
But who knows? Kanye could be a good president. we have to live with the reality. Kanye West could be a good president.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, it's a thought. But yeah, I mean, that's my whole angle with the Mark Cuban thing is he's just another billionaire and he would carry Texas. That's all I really have so far in my Mark Cuban strategy outlook.
Is this your plan for 2020? We're gonna run Cuban in 2020.
No, I mean he has Cuban in his name, so he should get some votes that way.
Hey man, he'll get some of the Hispanic vote. I'm looking out for you. I think Trump killed it with the Cuban vote because I know like most of the.
Well, yeah, I carried him in Miami, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, the fact that Hillary
Clinton. There's a lot of people in Miami that aren't too happy about the lifting the embargo necessarily.
Yeah, because they escaped it. I mean, they know the horrors that go on, and they either want Fidel Castro to be punished or for regime change. Because like, well, that's my homeland, and they fucking ruined my homeland.
Yeah, no, I mean, I listen to Dan Le Batard every day, and I mean, he was basically in tears because he was saying that like his having to like his parents are just kind of still heartbroken over it because they escaped it, and now to just see us go and be like Obama shaking Castro's hand and whatnot, it's kind of a weird thing because
he's legitimizing
should
Castro.
be clearly in jail or like whatever. It's something worse.
But yeah, I think Obama legitimized Castro. I think by shaking his hand and opening up Cuba to the West and saying sorry about the embargo, I think he's legitimizing Fidel Castro.
Well, we still had to do it. I mean, it was we've slept in beds with worse dictators before. I mean, it's just strange.
Well, I'm not going to deny that at all, but we have the most influence over Cuba. I mean, we are the closest state, and the Soviet Union is not the power that it used to be. They do not have nukes in Cuba anymore. I think so. I hope I'm not wrong about this. I
don't think so either. Okay. We could fact check.
Because I think that was the Cuban Missile Crisis. We got them to pull them out of Cuba, right? And we pulled ours out of Turkey.
Yeah, I think that was the whole. That was the arrangement. I would check my history. But yeah, and I'm sure when we actually get listeners and followers, someone will angrily tweet us that no, there's still actually.
We'll just read the chat. We'll just read the chat, and they'll like post links for us if we get like more than enough people.
Well, yeah, and we do encourage that ultimately. Because,
please, whenever I'm wrong on factual issues, please correct me. If I'm wrong on opinions, you can tell me your opinion, and I will assess your counter to my opinion. But for facts, yes, please correct us.
Yeah. All right. Any other things you want to touch on with the Olympics? I mean, not the Olympics. I guess we could talk about the Olympics if you wanted to, but no, about the election.
Oh, but yeah, just this kind of new right-wing nationalism, I guess, is, nationalism is a scary word because the last time white people did it seriously, they murdered 12 million people systematically and were very good at genocide. I think that's where a lot of the fear over, right-leaning nationalism.
That's where a lot of the fear comes. If Trump is a 1 or 2 term president and he's a normal Republican, he doesn't do anything too radical, and he's just, he toes the line, he does some things, fails at some things, doesn't start World War III, then, we'll all live to do another day. And I think that's just the legitimate concern amongst liberals is, as someone who has looked at history and sees all the parallels, which are, there, we're, just a little concerned, which is why I think it was such a shock that this all happened because, I'm sure you've seen that meme where it's like 2016, Trump can never be president. And it's like 2017, Trump can't do that. And 2018, oh, I hope my district wins in the Hunger Games tonight. And, that's like kind of the...
Have you ever seen the one where it's like, Trump will never be the presidential nominee. Trump will never be president. Trump can't build that wall. And it's like between Trump can't build that wall and Trump will never be president, it's like, you are here. And it's like, Trump can't make peace with the Martians. Trump can't, it's just like keeps going down the list. All these things. But on the bright side of this Trumpism is that, Vladimir Putin's calling Trump and says, hey, look, we don't want to be aggressing with America, and the president of Syria, we don't want to be aggressing with America, it's like, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. I think that's something we can all be a little optimistic about, and I think, if he can lower taxes, and I think he can help a lot of people. If he can cut regulations, I think he can help a lot of people. If he can get rid of Obamacare, I think that can help a lot of businesses hire more people. I know you're going to disagree with a few of those line items, but I think he can help with a lot of those things. And
the country is barely spoken. I mean, we can argue over the merits of the popular vote versus the electoral college, but maybe we should devote a whole podcast to debating.
Yeah, no, I would love to have a whole discussion about that because I think it's still valid for the sovereignty of the states. I think it's still. I think it's
stupid, and if people in Iowa want to organize and hear their voices heard, they should have more votes.
You're saying you're saying they should breed more.
Yeah, or,
You're saying they should breed more when California's got an immigration policy of just, you're born here, therefore, we've got a new Democrat in 18 years. Okay, you've had that for the last 40 years. Yeah, of course you're going to have more popular votes.
Or you can just do what you always say and they can just move,
Yeah, no, they could. They very well could. You can just move to California in large enough numbers, in which case you'll hollow out that state, and then he'll lose those electoral votes. But
I mean, that's what we're all going to start doing. We're all going to start carpetbagging all these states to try to win over these school boards and eventually all the way up. And it's going to be.
Well, that's what they've been doing that with Minnesota for a while. I mean, that's what the point of all these Somalian immigrants there is to get Al Franken elected and get Obamacare passed. But that's something for another discussion.
And also a little bit
jaded
conspiracy theory on you, but we'll touch the base.
It's jaded. I'll give you that. I will definitely concede that. But I think, I think there's some optimism with the Trump presidency, and I think you should be cautious. I think we should all be cautious. I think we should all hold Trump accountable. I think we should definitely, watch him and make sure he does good for the country, whether or not we agree with it.
And then one last thing, I just want to make one point about the protests. I just want to state that they're not protesting Trump's legality as president. Nobody is sitting here and saying that he didn't win. I think we're just sending a message. I think that people in the streets are saying that if he does anything crazy, that we will be there and we'll be there in numbers. And I think that anybody who's truly an American, who truly stands for liberty and freedom and right to expression and all that, should stand behind these protesters, whether you disagree and get pissed off about the freeway being blocked. I think that you should accept that this is at least people care. At least people are actually out there trying to have their voices heard. And I mean, I think it's better than the fact that more people vote for American Idol than vote in these elections. You know, I don't know if that stat's true, but it probably.
Well, let me say my piece about these protesters. I think it's hilarious that the places they are obstructing, the streets they're blocking, are places that all voted for Hillary Clinton. So basically, you're ruining the lives of Hillary Clinton voters because you lost. I just think on the majority that those communities voted for Hillary Clinton, and it's just like, okay, we're gonna block the freeway, we're gonna do this. Now, look, yes, they have a right to make their political statement. They absolutely have that right because they are Americans. They are protected by the First Amendment, which is guaranteed by the Second Amendment, and various other things. Now, they have that right. However, you know, the violent protesters, that poor guy who got his ass beat in Michigan, and that teenage girl who got her ass, that high school girl who got her ass beat, like that's not okay. That's unacceptable. You know, like, you are allowed to throw your little temper tantrum, and honestly, I don't think you should be blocking the freeway. I don't think you should be obstructing the daily flow because you're just pissing off Hillary. You're just telling these Hillary Clinton voters, like, look at how whiny and obnoxious we are because we didn't get our way. Like, I get it. You know, I'm not saying that that's what they're doing. I'm sure there are some that it's like they're just, you know, just venting and they're just trying to show their dissatisfaction.
Some people are just trolls too, and some people just need to get their head out of their ass.
There's some of that, but just, you know, please stop with the violence. I think Obama needs to have a call for peace. You know, look, guys, you lost the election.
I think actually, to be fair, I feel like both sides of, I mean, even Trump himself is pretty much, you know, said, you know, let's stop the violence. And honestly, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, obviously we agree on the balance issue. I mean, that's not the way to do it. That's not the way to win. That's not how MLK would have done it. That's not, you know, all of those things. We need to peacefully protest. And I honestly think the protests probably should stop at this point. I mean, if people still feel passionate to go out and do it, but I mean, I think we need to save it for when he starts actually building the wall or actually starting to deport people, you know, like things like that. When he does those things, then we need to organize, and I will be there right with them.
Yes.
But for now we need to, because now it just looks bad. Now it's just, it might not even be true. It might be totally justified. But it's just another chance for CNN to post like anti-Trump protesters as a headline and make, you know, people have that sort of same sentiment that you have, that look a bunch of sore losers.
Well, I'm not saying they're sore losers. I mean, they are sore losers. But like for me,
but it gets perceived that way. I'm just saying, and that's also the fault of mainstream media being completely useless. As well as not even being able to show any nuance that no, these people are actually protesting bigotry and other, you know, larger elements. They're not just protesting, oh, like we want, you know, they're not going out and saying like the you know, Patriots fans aren't protesting that the Seahawks, you know, won. They're protesting that should have been a call on freaking 4th and goal in the end zone. But that's a different story.
Well, I see these protests and I think like they're ruining their case for 2018. You know, it's just, or maybe they're scaring people. Maybe this is the point: is that, hey, if you don't want your community to shut down, if you don't want people to be threatened with violence, you better vote Democrat in 2018. You better vote for the party who's going to give us our welfare. You better vote for the party that's going to support us. Maybe this is the plan. Maybe it's just, if we do all this and we throw this tantrum, people are going to be so scared of voting for someone who will stand against that they will capitulate to our interests. The good thing is the rural voters are the ones who won it for Trump, not the people who live in these communities.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, I don't agree with all of that.
That's my cynical overview of it.
Yeah, I think you're being a little conspiracy again on that. But
I don't even think it's that conspiratorial. I just think it's a very cynical approach to cynical outlook of it. You know, it's just a lot of people are dependent on the government, and a lot of them vote Democrat. I mean, that is a fact.
Yeah, well, okay, so I think we got a good 50 minutes on the election. So let's start talking about something that's completely unrelated. How both of our teams might make the playoffs this year.
Yes.
Granted, it's a bit of an uphill climb, just as a disclaimer. I root for the Eagles. If you didn't happen to see my shirt, I'm repping the Eagles. Ghost here is a Dolphins fan, for no reasons apparent to me, but he is nonetheless a Dolphins fan.
I can explain that if you'd like. I didn't watch football until about 2007 or so. So I was like 15 or 16. And it was just like I was looking at all the teams, like I looked at how they performed, and I saw that the Dolphins, they were 0-16, or they were 1-15. It was something off. It was a terrible season. And
do you remember who beat them? The one team that beat, or I can't talk. The one team they beat.
I'm assuming it was like the Patriots or something absurd.
No, it was the Ravens. It was Brian Bilk's last season coaching the Ravens. I don't know how I remember that.
Because I didn't watch football that year, but like the year after, I was just like, well, the Dolphins had the worst season. I'm gonna pick them because I just want to root for them. I was just like random, like they were the worst, so let's see how they go. They can only go up, And I was like, they made the playoffs that next year and haven't made it since, I think.
That makes perfect sense. Oh, I am just as a brief thing, I just got the alert that Max Scherzer has won the NL Cy Young.
Oh, congratulations to Max Scherzer.
And Rick Porcello won the AL Cy Young. That's not that surprising.
Yeah, he had a good season.
Scherzer, though, not a Cub. They didn't give it to a Cub.
Well, I mean, it's based on the season performance, and I agree with who they gave it to. And God, that was a fantastic World Series. And I wish we'd been doing this when the World Series was on, because I would have loved to talk about that. I had my Little League Cubs jersey on while watching the entire series, and it's like, yes, it still fits me.
Yes. Well, now it is election season is over, so now we can have more of these fireside chats.
Oh, yes. It's fantastic. But as for baseball, I mean, what a fantastic season. Just an amazing end to the season that it was.
Yeah, no, it was great all the way through. I mean, the Cubs being down 3-1 was the best thing that could have happened. I mean,
was it Nate Silver who said at that point? Was it that point that the Cubs were as likely to win this series as Trump was to win the election?
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like Trump is a little bit more of a long shot, but yeah, still nonetheless.
Good old Nate Bronze now. I think he's been demoted from silver to bronze.
Yeah, it's been a good year in sports. I would say other than the Super Bowl, it's all the championship games have been good. That was a great Villanova victory over North Carolina in the basketball tournament.
The Final Four.
Knock on the Warriors was good. I don't know about the college baseball World Series, but I think it was interesting.
I know. Sure. All I know is that it takes place in Omaha. That's all I know about the college baseball world.
The place that Peyton Manning single-handedly boosted the economy by like 200%.
I would assume so. But let's keep talking about the NFL, since we are in season for the NFL. I don't know enough about hockey to talk about hockey.
And, no, me neither. Until the playoffs, I can pretend like I know a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So Dolphins. Let's look at their road. I don't have their whole schedule in front of me, but I do know that they have to theoretically surpass either the Broncos, the Chiefs, or the Raiders, who are all 2 games ahead of them.
Yeah, the AFC
so
West
obviously
is
still
scary.
a long shot, but at least your coach isn't going to get fired this year, most likely.
Yeah, and the good thing is, I think the Chiefs, Raiders, and Broncos all have to play each other at least one more time.
That is true.
So one of them has to lose a couple of those games.
I mean, I feel like you got to go with the Chiefs at this point, even though they're probably the least sexy of the 3.
Is Macklin still healthy? I thought Macklin was out.
He's been out, but they still managed to come back 17 points down against Carolina, who I also lost money on this weekend.
Oof, tough break. No, I don't think Carolina's that good this year, but that's just because I've seen their performance.
But yeah, can we go back to that 4th down call? It was freaking ridiculous with the Patriots. The Patriots that was clearly pass interference. If you're going to call pass interference on every other play, how can you not call pass interference on that play in 4th down in the end zone? Should have been gone to overtime, but maybe I'm just bitter.
Yeah, it was pretty atrocious. I was actually rooting for the Patriots that game, but that was more so just because Belichick and Brady trolled the entire country by endorsing Trump at the last minute.
All of a sudden, Ghost. All of a sudden,
you can bleep that out, right?
Yes, we can edit that out.
It's okay if they just know my first name. Just please, no last names, no other connections, because they can check your Facebook profile.
Shouldn't list your phone number and other things.
Yeah, and I don't want to get doxxed so soon, just because I enjoy my anonymity, not because.
Yeah, no, I get it. Until we're making millions, there's no reason for people to know who we are.
But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that was a ridiculous no call, and it's always amazing to me the calls they miss, because it's like the ones they get are the ones that are close, but it's like, really, you missed that call on the most important play of the game, where you clearly have time to look at it, and you clearly have time.
So I'm a little bitter. I'm also bitter that Zeke Elliott seems to just run through secondaries, and also that they play zone on 3rd and whatever it was, and that Steelers game also.
Oh my gosh, that game was fantastic. I mean, Most of that, I watch it through the lens of just like checking NFL.com. Like I'm not actually watching the plays most of the time. Like I saw the Patriots game because I was home.
Yeah. No, I get you. I have Red Zone, so I watch as much.
Oh, I love Red Zone. Red Zone is like such a guilty pleasure of just, all right, show me all the touchdowns. Show me all the Red Zone.
Now that campaign season is over, I can actually enjoy a day in my house watching football. So that's nice.
But I'm looking at but back to the Dolphins. I'm looking at their schedule. We've got the Rams, and I think that's going to be a hard game, but I'm looking forward to them picking off Jared Goff several times and giving him a rude awakening.
Yeah, Goff's got to be terrible, right? I mean, the fact that he
I mean, come on, why wasn't he starting already? Unless he's just some transcendent talent who performs under pressure. No, the Dolphins are gonna crush him.
I mean, this is a very losable game this is a very Dolphins lose-esque kind of game.
Oh, absolutely.
But I tend to think that they should win.
And then they've got San Francisco, which I like that game. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to watch Colin Kaepernick lose again.
Yeah, one thing back to politics, the fact that Colin Kaepernick didn't vote makes me completely non-sympathetic to his cause.
Whoa!
I'm behind Kaepernick and all of this, and I almost was like considering getting a jersey for him. Like that's how behind Kaepernick I was in all of this, and now it's just all gone.
Okay, let me defend Colin Kaepernick. I think he's kind of a disgusting human being. Wearing the pigs in a blanket sucks, but that's just because of that. But I think, in his defense, he did say, and I disagree with him, that Trump is a racist and that Hillary Clinton is a criminal. He did say publicly that Hillary Clinton is a criminal. So I accept his refusal to vote for either candidate.
Yeah, he said that he they're the lesser of two evils, but he doesn't want to vote for evil at all.
I think that's a fair position. I think it's a fair position not to vote at all. I mean, I think you're kind of silly, but I think you have the right to not vote at all.
What do you think about the whole making Election Day a holiday and making it mandatory with steep penalties for people who don't vote?
I think the mandatory thing is a little silly. I think
they do it in plenty of other countries, and they end up getting like 70 to 80% turnout. Because then my whole argument for it, and just like basically, if you're going to actually protest and not vote, then you actually have to make a protest because you actually have to end up paying some. I'm not saying it has to be a steep fine, but something where it's like, okay, so if it should be more incentive to vote than not to vote. And if you're not voting, there should be a legitimate reason why you're not voting, like Kaepernick making that kind of a point, not just like that you're lazy and okay.
Well, what if you just made them write like an essay why they weren't voting?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
I think that one, I'm like, yeah, leave it the way it is, whatever. But as for making Election Day a holiday, fine. Perfectly fine with that. I think that's an acceptable practice. I think that the election is a matter of global importance, and I think there should be every matter of convenience for people who work.
Why not just make it a weekend too? Why does it have to be on a Tuesday?
Yeah, no, I'm perfectly fine with that. Making it on a Saturday. Sunday might be, I mean, there's people who go to church, but Saturday, then again, there's people who go to temple.
One day too. Have it be like and that you're continually counting, like, and it makes sense for the news coverage too, because then you could have 2 days of news coverage for it. Like CNN would have a freaking wet dream over it.
Oh yeah, no, it'd be amazing ratings bonanza, so to speak. No, I think so. I think having more than one. I mean. Early voting. I mean, come on. How else are your guys going to vote early and vote often if you don't have early vote? I know this is just me having fun, but no, I think like having like a 3-day thing, as long as it was backed up by a very effective voter ID system, and that you could register up until the very last day. Like I think it's stupid when voter registration closes. Yeah, and
I'd be okay with that too. If the government made it super easy to get IDs, if the government made it to something where all you really have to do is either go online or even just like call a number or something and they send you one to like a PO box, or even if it was just streamlined as easy as possible. Like the whole problem that I have with the whole sort of voter fraud thing is that I would argue it justifies making voting harder, which I think if you can have both, you can have voter IDs, or you can have something that keeps voting completely, legitimate and everything, because everybody wants the legitimate process. Nobody wants people to get 2 votes. Neither side. I would argue.
I would agree so. But here's my thing about the ID thing, right? Can you drive without an ID? Can you drink without an ID? Can you do any of those things without an ID? And I think most people do either. Most adults do either of those things. Like I don't understand like the people who don't have IDs. Like there's so much you cannot do.
They're like disenfranchised, like older, like women of color or something like that, where they're like 70 something and don't have access to a lot of those things. And I mean, those are people that like I'm saying too. If you want to have a voter, then you should also be able to have exceptions. And also, like I just think that the voter ID laws are nefarious in purpose, and I feel like there's been some candidates and politicians that have admitted to them being used for that purpose. And if it's, I just don't think like your genuine concern about voter fraud and things like that, I completely agree with, and that's something we should work towards. I just don't think that these laws are actually accomplishing any of that, if that makes sense. I just view it as using it to disenfranchise certain voters.
Well,
which we
I mean, that's obviously not my intent. I don't intend to disenfranchise voters, and I think like you can have an effective voter ID law, and I think what the gaps need to be filled, I think, by organizers. I think that organizers should fill those gaps, like make sure everyone gets their vote in, go around communities and say, look, hey, do you have your ID? Okay, well, we'll make like a concentrated effort in the communities to get people IDs.
Yeah, and that's fair. And organizers could do that. I mean, that's basically what I did as far as like the last 2 weeks of the election, just calling people and making sure, hey, like we know that you're a registered voter. You should have received your ballot. Have you mailed it in? And then most people are like, oh, I'll mail it in tomorrow. And it's like, we're going to call you tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I think all of that's fine. I think, honestly, I prefer the government not be the one who does that, have the communities do it and the local, local organizers take it over because, I think the local organizers are going to do a much better job of getting people to do it than, Uncle Sam will.
Yeah, and yeah, I know. Oh, and also I want to make one blanket statement to everybody that gets really mad about political phone calls as someone who works in the industry. If you tell the person who calls you right away what you actually think, so for example, a Trump pollster calls and says, are you going to support Trump? If you say, I don't know yet, they're going to call you back in 2 days. I can tell you that affirmatively and definitively. If you tell them I'm going to vote for Trump or I'm not going to vote for Trump, they won't call you for 2 months. And so if you want to eliminate getting a lot of phone calls politically, just tell the fucking truth. and they will, and we won't call you again. We won't bother you because we already know what you're doing. If we ask you if you mailed in your ballot and you already mailed in your ballot, just say yes. Don't say it's none of your business. I'm not telling you because that serves you no purpose and we're going to call you again.
Yeah,
so
lie if
just
you have
a
to.
little bit of public service announcement from someone who's an organizer. Just saying.
Yeah, no, I agree. Lie if you have to. Disconnect your landline. I mean, what are you doing with a landline? All you're going to do is get harassed by various calls. As for like polling, I mean, I know that some pollsters would say, "Can I talk to the youngest person in this house?" When they were asking for polls about the election. And guess what? It just happened that the millennial vote, which came out 80% for Hillary Clinton, which is something for you to be positive for, that even a corrupt corporatist, corrupt corporatist candidate still was able to get like a mass percentage of the youth vote who are going to outlive the older voters.
Yeah, it's just a matter of whether they
actually like the worst incarnation of the Democratic Party's policies was still able to win with young voters. Now, these young voters are eventually going to pay taxes and realize that some things aren't in their self-interest and some of them will fall off your rolls, but you've got them now.
Yeah, and if we had better candidates, we would have them for longer.
Yeah,
but
that's definitely all very true.
Okay, let's turn a little bit because we're already hitting the hour mark and we don't want to, first podcast oversaturate. So
I'm okay with going longer, but I mean, I know you got shit to do and.
Unfortunately, yeah, I'm trying to write. I have a couple topics to write about. Possibly gonna post on the website a little bit later. Just kind of I want to give both the a sort of strategic perspective and then also talk about hey white people kind of hate white people article, but obviously those have been written a lot, so I don't know if I want to write.
I don't think you have the. I don't know, man. You don't understand the struggles of the people of color, man. You can't understand how much they should hate white people. I don't think you have the right to go and tell white people what they should think. Okay, man. I don't think you have that right.
No, I'm very woke. I'm capable of talking.
I think you're very blue pilled, my friend. You need to take the red pill someday to understand what's going on.
I just want to know the truth. Wait, which one is the blue pill and which one is the red in the Matrix? I forget.
The red pill is the one that wakes you up. The blue pill is the one where you go back to the dream world and accept. It's a great metaphor.
Yeah, that's unfair. I think it's the other way around. Should clearly be the other way around.
Well, it obviously wasn't a political statement. It's just like blue is a very calm and peaceful color. I think was the reason for the symbolism and the imagery of the blue pill versus the red pill, which is like it's a warning color, but it's like it's the truth. And even though the truth may look dangerous, you have to take it in. I think that's kind of what they were going for. I'm not going to overanalyze the Matrix in a short podcast. It's been too long since I've seen it.
Yeah. Well, I mean. I think that you did a pretty good job of it on that.
That's just my layman's analysis of that, and I listen a lot to a lot of people in like the and it's gonna lose me probably a lot of followers like the I guess you'd call them the anti-feminist kind of movement, and just kind of they talk a lot about that, and it's very interesting discussions I listen to out there, and it's always there's a lot of discussion that goes beyond that.
Yeah, well,
And we're going
yeah,
to fiercely disagree on those issues, obviously.
yeah. Well, and we'll obviously dive more into that. I mean,
That will
certainly
be a
with
whole nother topic,
feminism, how it's
obviously.
yeah, we can discuss how feminism is not a bad word, where you can say that it is, and we
Well,
can.
it's not my opinion that matters. It's women who are abandoning the term feminism, not me. I've always never cared for it because it's, for me, what matters is that the genders are treated equally. That's all that matters. I
Well,
don't
that
know.
is that you realize that is feminism, though.
No,
That's like
no,
literally the definition of it.
that's not modern feminism. That's like more first wave feminism. This second and third wave feminism is a much different mess that we will go into fully detail. I'll bring my research. I'll bring a lot of sources, and we'll talk about that later.
Sounds good. Yeah, no, and I will bring mine as well. So yeah, let's just quickly discuss the NBA season, I guess.
Oh my gosh! Holy crap! The Lakers have been the toast of the town. Wow! Just I am. I thought Luke Walton was going to give us like a really weak season. I thought we were going to maybe get like 30 wins, but I think we can legitimately talk about playoffs this year.
I was just gonna ask you. I can't say that yet because you got to take 8 teams. I mean, you got to put who are you going to take out then for?
Well, if you look at what's going on, like some of the teams that should be in the playoffs, like I think the Timberwolves, the Lakers are where the Timberwolves should be this year because the Timberwolves team that is too talented of a team to be like 2-7 or 3-5 or whatever.
They won. I think they won last night too. So I mean, but yeah, I mean, granted, yeah, I think that. Well, I think the Warriors. There's no time to obviously overreact to early losses. Like they're a new team.
But if I look at the Western Conference, I mean, we've got the Clippers at the top. That's going to obviously change.
Yeah.
Warriors, no, Spurs, I think are surefire. The Lakers beat the Rockets. I mean, but they're fourth. The Trailblazers are fifth. The Jazz are sixth. I don't know if they'll hold up. Lakers
I like
are
the
seventh.
Jazz. I definitely like the Jazz.
OKC, I think, is definitely going to make it. But Memphis is 5-5.
I don't like Memphis.
Yeah, I think Memphis is regressing. Sacramento is 4-7. I mean, that team is like DeMarcus Cousins plus like a couple other talented players. But
and there's still a chance that they may trade him.
Yeah, I think Sacramento could make the playoffs, but I see them like as an 8 seed. Denver just paid a ton of money to get Conley, and I don't think that roster is that much better.
No, yeah, I don't buy the Nuggets.
And I think Minnesota could squeak into the playoffs because I think they're too talented.
I think it's going to be between Minnesota and LA, honestly, for that eight seed. It seems
because
like
then you've got the Suns, the Mavs, and the Pelicans. Funny that the
Mavs
did beat the Lakers, but I mean that was election night when no one was watching.
Yeah, and I mean they're all so I mean there's a fair amount of bad teams in the West, I guess, where it's certainly possible.
It's not the East. Let's be honest. It's not the East where you've got this. It's not the East.
Yeah.
The Lakers would be like a 5 seed in the East, I think.
Yeah, but no, it is encouraging though to see that that they have a young coach, young players. I mean, they may be able to draw on a free agent here or there.
I mean, they're gonna have to deal out Dang or Mozgov. I mean, granted, Mozgov had a killer game last night, and I think Dang is a fantastic what do you call it, like a death lineup 5. To run well, I mean, Randall's like your death lineup 5, but to have like Dang is your 4. I mean, like, you can definitely have fun with that, and Luke Walton helped Steve Kerr perfect that in Golden State, or learn from. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I think Luke Walton seems to be not in over his head, and I think that's a good sign, and hopefully they don't fire him too quickly.
Yeah, there's a lot of optimism about that. I mean, let's just talk about general NBA, because we hope to have more than just a local audience. I mean, like, the Cavs are destroying it. I don't see them repeating this year. I don't see them repeating. I think they're either going to lose to the Warriors or the Spurs this year. That'd be my prediction.
You assume they're going to be in the finals again. I mean, there's nobody in the West that scares you. That scares you.
The Bulls don't ring me bells. I mean, sure, they got Wade, but that team has regressed and a lot. The Hawks are an interesting play. The Raptors kept it together. I think the only people who could dethrone them are the Raptors or the Celtics, because I think the Celtics have the most complete team there besides the Cavs.
And the Celtics have looked kind of shaky, though.
They have. I
mean, I haven't been following basketball too much, but it seems like they're not. They're losing games they should win.
Yeah, but I think that if they get it together, they have a very good lineup. I think I haven't looked too deeply at their bench, but I think they have a good bench. I think they could beat the Cavs in a 7-game series, them or the Raptors. I don't see them doing it this year, but I'm saying I see the potential for them doing that. In the West, though, it's Warriors or Spurs.
Seems like the NBA is predictable.
Yeah. It's Warriors or Spurs in the West, and it would either have to be the Warriors knocked out by like a low seed team, because I don't think the Spurs line up very well against them.
What about the Clippers, though? You don't think the Clippers have a chance? You don't think that
I've lived near LA my whole life, so I know that I know the Clippers. I know the Clippers are notorious at choking. I mean, yeah, if they're healthy the entire year, I think I've heard a lot of commentators say they match up well with the Warriors. I mean, you get DeAndre Jordan in there. If they change the rules about intentional fouling, like yeah, their chances go up insanely having like a 20 rebound monster in there every game. Yeah, I could see something happening there, but that's the only other team I see squeaking in. It would be like a crazy series where they beat the Warriors and then they rode that high to beat the Spurs, and then they probably lose to the Cavs,
and then go against Cleveland. Yeah, that's a tall order. Unless of course they get lucky and the Warriors get knocked out in the first round and they get to just play the Spurs in the West Finals or something.
Yeah, it'd be a large confluence of factors, and I don't see the Warriors being that careless.
Yeah, I think the Warriors just really don't care about the regular season at this point, because why would they? I think they realized that last year we cared about the regular season and we lost because of it.
And I don't see the Thunder doing anything because, sorry, you can't do it without KD. that team is not the same. Russell Westbrook is going to get hurt. He's going to tear an Achilles. He's going to tear a knee. Something. That's my prediction is Russell Westbrook gets hurt this year trying to do everything.
Or he's going to get the scoring title and the MVP and they're going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, he could average a triple-double a game, but I think he's going to get hurt. He's just doing too much. His usage is way too high.
It's kind of sad because that team, if I feel like if they had a stronger coach, he could be like, look, Westbrook, like they have a decent team around him. I mean, Oladipo can play. You got Adams in the middle. You got
Adams, Cantor. You've got like more bigs than you can count on that team.
Yeah, I mean, like if he was actually like a decent point guard, which he's clearly just a freak and nothing, he's not really a position. Then like they could be, they could make a run at it. I would think.
He's like who was that quarterback who did everything, who played everything a couple like last year from Jacksonville. He's like quarterback, running back, he was just offensive weapon was his official position.
JJ Watt?
No, that's Monster. No, he was on Jacksonville. He played quarterback in college, and then he played a bunch of running back for the Jags.
Oh, well, the closest person I think of like that is Terrell Pryor.
No, not Terrell Pryor, but Terrell Pryor is another good example. Like, does everything and just is a physical monster. Like, he's like Terrell Pryor out there, but actually super talented.
Huh. Well, who completed there was someone who completed a pass to themselves. I think it was Sam Bradford completed a pass to himself or something like a couple weeks ago. I remember seeing that stat.
Wait, so he threw a ball up in the air and caught it?
Yeah, like bounced off somebody's head and into his hand or something like that.
That's awesome. I would assume it's Sam Bradford. I mean, that
seems
sense.
Very Sam Bradford-esque. I could be wrong. I have no idea. I just remember seeing that stat. It might have even been in college. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, no, I mean Russell Westbrook could just like throw lobs to himself all day and probably outscore half the league.
Yeah, no joke.
But that team without Kevin Durant, I mean, there's not much they can do.
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty fair outlook. Do we give the Knicks any chance to make the playoffs?
Unfortunately for me, I've watched the Knicks the last few years, not like, as a team, but just like seeing how they do. It's just like, oh, look, they're 10 games under 500 with like one of the highest budgets in the NBA. Nope, not happening.
Yeah, I mean the Yankees, the Knicks. I mean, well, the Yankees are kind of progressing in the right direction.
Yeah, the Yankees will do fine. I mean,
they might still get Chapman again.
Yeah, the whole Chapman thing. That for me, it's like, wait. So domestic violence comes back, saves the World Series. Well,
after almost fucking up the World Series.
Yeah, he gets the win in the last game of the World Series, and it's just like, I mean, the guy can hurl. He can huck it. Like,
yeah, no, it's yeah, I mean, that guy's terrifying on the mound.
I would not want to stand in the batter's box against him. I'd just say, like, take the strikeout, just don't kill me.
Yeah. All right. Well, what else anything else you want to touch base on? I'm kind of out of topics that I can think of.
Well, I mean, we can take this offline and discuss like going forward later. But I mean, as for sports go, yeah, no, it looks like we've got an exciting season. The Lakers are exciting to watch. Carson Wentz is exciting to watch. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, what are the Eagles are? Gosh, they're 5-4 now. Gosh,
5-4 in last place. Woohoo!
Oof. Oh, I mean, the NFC, it's much easier to make the playoffs than the AFC, which is crazy right now, because the freaking AFC West is just destroying the league.
Well, and the Eagles would be in second place in any other division right now. So,
yeah. I mean, I think they could take a wild card slot. Yeah, I think they are the wild card.
No, we're behind the Skins and the Giants right now at this point. But technically, yeah,
Oh,
I
right,
mean,
right,
we're
right,
only a
right.
half game behind the Skins. And we play them again. We play the Giants again. I don't see the Giants actually staying good. I mean, they beat a Bengals team who's not really a good
Yeah,
team.
I don't see the Giants taking. I mean, unless is it Sterling Shepard who's their new wide receiver?
Yeah, that will. Yeah, no, I think I think he's either a receiver or running back. But
Yeah, I think
I
Sterling
mean,
Shepard, and they've got Odell Beckham, obviously. But I mean, Eli Manning's got to huck some interceptions. It's just this is how Manning plays.
yeah, I mean, I do kind of like the Giants Patriots Part 3 Super Bowl prediction. That is kind of a fun one. I think Bill
No,
Simmons made
don't
that.
be ridiculous.
It was. It's
The
effective.
Patriots
You
are going
know,
to just
it's
run over whatever team comes to the Super Bowl. I hate to say it, the NFC is just too weak. And yes,
well,
the
I mean,
Seahawks won that.
you got two teams that can beat the Patriots in the NFC. I mean, the
Really?
Cowboys in Seattle.
I don't see the Cowboys beating the Patriots, even though they're playing fantastically. And that offensive line, holy crap! Why does not how do teams not just load up their offensive line watching how good every running back who stands behind them is, how long your quarterback lasts. I mean, yes, I know Tony Romo's out, but they're making Dak Prescott look like a transcendent talent, and maybe he is a transcendent talent, but more likely he has time to throw.
You had flashes in college, but never anything like this. You never had anything to expect that he was going to be, the next Randall Cunningham or something of that nature.
I mean, he's got time to throw, and that's why he is showing insanely well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think. Well, yeah, no, I could see the Cowboys. I could see the Cowboys falling back down to earth a little bit. I mean, they're certainly a playoff team at this point. There's no
Oh,
denying.
absolutely. They're making the playoffs. The question is, how deep are they going? And I mean, they could make the Super Bowl with the way they're playing and with the fact that, I mean, what, the Packers are in third, are 4-5. I mean, the Vikings
Yeah,
have
I
lost
don't really
four in a
know. I
row.
mean, if they have the 1 seed, I don't know. I mean, they're never really generally a good home team. I mean, I could see Seattle. The only thing about Seattle is their biggest weakness is Dallas's biggest strength, and it's offensive line. So
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing against Russell Wilson, but I mean, it's nice to watch him finally get hit once in a while. Since they traded their one of their linemen to get Jimmy Graham, which I never understood. It's like they've done nothing with Jimmy Graham, and all it's led to is Russell Wilson getting hit a lot more.
yeah, no, it should be. I mean, because the Eagles have a decent line. Like you could see, our line play was bad after Lane Johnson got suspended, but it seems like we filled in those gaps a little bit. At least we looked really good against Atlanta, who granted has a terrible pass rush.
Oh
But
yeah, but I mean Atlanta's like if they outscore if they can score 30 points, they'll win that game. But if they can't score like an absurd amount of points, they're gonna lose.
yeah, and also Doug Peterson learned that hey, even if you don't get it on third down and goal, you should kick the field goal when it's the second quarter because points are useful at the end of the game.
Oh yeah,
That was stupid. We've lost 2 games now, but just have like dumb decisions.
I hear Mike Tomlin is doing the 2 points thing every game, and I like that. I like.
I lost because I lost my bets because of that dumb decision too.
Oh.
He missed like 5 on Sunday.
Yeah, but you know, with with all the kicks being blocked and just like how bad kickers are awful. Maybe it is just the extra 10 yards, but kickers have looked awful this year. It is a bad year to be a kicker.
I think that I forget where I heard this theory, but but I think it seems pretty valid that usually it used to be that extra points were like warm-up kicks, so you just before you have your kicker do field goal kicks, like if they were lucky enough, like you scored a touchdown, they got to just go out there and go through the motions. And now it's like when you make them do an extra point, it's basically in a field goal kick, so they never really get that actual warm-up. And like mentally, I think it's kind of psyching these guys out.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And even Gostkowski, who's one of the best kickers that the Patriots have had since the best kicker the Patriots have had since Vinatieri. I mean, he's just not. He doesn't seem confident anymore. I know
he's not as automatic. You know, he's on my fantasy team, of course, because I reached for him because it's like, well, the Patriots are going to score a whole mother load of points, and therefore.
Yeah, I have. I feel like I'm just going to barely miss the playoffs in this. And for some reason, if we look at our league, you and Tim, of course, at the top. And then we weirdly have our auto drafter. we got Julio Jones and Matt Ryan somehow in auto draft.
Hey, man, Zeke Elliott, bro. So good.
Yeah, I mean, I think I oversmarted myself with. I mean, honestly, the trades that I made actually I think turned out to be good because I gave up AJ Green for Bennett and McCoy, which I'm happy about now that Gronkowski is down because now I have the other Patriots tight end for a week.
Well, it's fun that Christine Michael got cut, after about, giving you like 4 good weeks, then like, okay, now he's off. Now he's off again, and he's gone. just gone like that. I was just like, whoa, Pete, what the hell, Pete?
Yeah, I got Procise on my team, so
yeah, no, that was just like, wait, what? He was just there, and you just cut him.
I should pick up Brawls too, just to make sure that I have one of these.
Have your handcuff of your handcuffs handcuff. You have like 2 degrees of handcuff.
Yeah, just load up with Patriots and Seahawks. That's how you got to win these leagues.
I don't know what their schedule is like, but I saw that Christine Michael got cut, and it's like, oh no, but I have Doug Martin in one league, so I was like, okay, cool. Now Doug Martin's finally not ruining my day. Like, oh look, the Niners are coming to Tampa Bay, and Doug Martin doesn't play. Oh look, the Falcons, and Doug Martin doesn't play. It was just atrocious. Just like, look at these easy defensive lines, and no.
Could Tampa Bay could make the playoffs?
Tampa Bay could quite easily make the playoffs.
That division's really bad. I didn't realize that. Like,
the Falcons are 6-4.
It's a division weirdly competent-ish, but still bad.
Yeah, the Falcons are 6-4, and the Bucks are 4-5. Wow, yeah. There's only 4 teams with 5 wins that aren't in first place.
Yeah, and the Eagles are one of them. Well, actually, no. I think it's all the NFC teams.
Yeah, the entire NFC East plus the Vikings, and that's because the Vikings have lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, the Vikings are going downhill but that's all their offensive line. I mean, their offensive line is beat up, and
they're like the 14 Cardinals, right? We're 4-0, and then we lost 12 in a row. I think that was 14.
I don't know. That sounds right. Well, I mean, there's always that team. Like Atlanta was that team last year that started 5-0 and then fell apart. Like there's always a team that starts out really terrible and then ends up making the playoffs. I feel like that might be the Cardinals this year, but we'll see.
Or the Denver Broncos, or no, it's the Panthers.
No, the Panthers are too far out. I mean, they have to win their divisions.
No, I meant last year when they won like 15. They went 15-1 or so, I think.
Yeah, they went 15-1.
And then they just, they fell apart against that amazing Peyton Manning game. No, I mean, the Broncos defense destroyed them.
Yeah, no.
The Broncos defense handed Peyton Manning that Super Bowl. He tried to give it back, too.
That was such a boring Super Bowl.
Oh, gosh. Please, anything but that.
Was dreadful.
Anything but that. Like, give me... I'd rather watch, like, the Lions play the Chiefs, At least that game there's going to be, like... Well, no, not the Chiefs. The Chiefs would be boring. Because, like, oh, Alex Smith throws another 10-yard pass. 30 times later.
Raiders Cowboys would be fun.
I mean, I would
the Raiders, which would be really weird, but that's
all of the worst fans, right? Sorry.
The NFL wants the Cowboys and the Seahawks in the NFC Championship, and it wants the Raiders and the Patriots in the AFC Championship.
Rematch of Tuckgate. The rematch of Tuckgate, right?
No, that's my bold prediction: is that the Raiders beat the Patriots in the AFC Championship, and then usher in 10 years of Raider prosperity and the eventual decline of the Patriots.
I think the Raiders are going to make the playoffs. I think I've got a really good feeling about the Raiders this year. I think they're actually that's a really good young team there. Derek Carr is great. No, sorry, Derek Carr is good. Amari Cooper is really good, and Latavius Murray is playing like Latavius Murray is supposed to be playing.
Yeah, and then you got
and the defense is not bad.
A better defense than they were.
And they're giving up a lot of points, but they're winning games.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you give up a lot of points if you score a lot of points.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have a good feeling about the Raiders.
I see Denver falling off. I see it being the Chiefs and the Raiders and then some other random team. I don't think all 3 of those teams are.
Oh, come on, man. Trevor Siemian is like the next... Yeah, I can't even lie. I can't even fake that.
The next Peyton Manning last year.
Let's not be that optimistic.
So I don't know. I don't see because Denver seems to just win games by luck. And I think
the Saints game. Wow, that was just what.
And I mean they have New England on there. They have New England still to play. They have to play the Raiders. I'm pretty sure again, and the Chiefs again. So they might even have to play the Chiefs twice. I don't think they've played each other this year.
Well, one of those teams is not going to make the playoffs. I think it's either going to be the Broncos or the Chiefs.
Yeah, and the Chiefs don't seem to be able to lose. They seem to be able to pull everything out of their ass. No questions asked.
Hey man, I think there's a conspiracy to make the Chiefs win. No.
I mean that opens the door for either the Dolphins or the Steelers or the Ravens.
I don't see the Steelers doing it, and that's just because of how they've played these last few games. I mean, yes, they've lost 4 in a row, but they haven't just lost; they've lost pretty badly.
Well, we can't concede the division to the Ravens though yet. I mean, they're still a game behind the Ravens.
You can't just give up on the Bengals. I mean, Bengals are.
I've kind of given up on the Bengals.
No, dude, the Browns, they're going to win 6 in a row and still take the division. Wouldn't that be – because the Ravens are 5-4, the Steelers are 4-5, the Bengals are 3-5-1, and the Browns are 0-10. Here's what's going to happen.
6-10 and make the playoffs.
Here's my insane prediction, okay? Johnny Manziel comes back from rehab, throws 30 touchdowns in 6 games, and leads the Browns to the playoffs and then loses in the first round to the Dolphins.
Wow. That's a pretty bold prediction. That definitely won't happen.
That would be amazing.
So that would imply that the Dolphins are going to win the division then?
Oh, no. I think that both the Broncos and the Chiefs will fall off. In that scenario.
Well, they wouldn't play. Well, okay. Then they play each other in the champion.
And then the Raiders still play the Patriots in the champion. No, sorry. It's the other way around. The Dolphins get beaten by the Raiders, and the Patriots crush the Browns in their hopeless dreams. And then you have your dream matchup of Raiders v. Chiefs.
Yeah, I really do hope Raiders Patriots would just be fun to watch. I mean, that would just be a great sort of. They would talk about that Tuck Rule game like way too much.
Tuckgate 2017. They'll make a new rule to give Brady the win. It'll be like, well, you hit him like slightly above the lower left patella, and that is the patella rule. And therefore, it is actually an incomplete pass, even though the ball didn't get out of his hands, and not a fumble. And therefore, Brady makes a drive and wins the game.
I'm actually fine with the Patriots winning the Super Bowl this year, though, because I do want to see Roger Goodell have to give him the trophy.
What, after prosecuting Brady?
Yeah, and then him also win the MVP.
Sits out the first 4 games, still wins the MVP.
I mean, until the Dak explosion and the Elliott explosion.
Dak explosion.
He was pretty much the definitive favorite. I mean, in Vegas, I think still has him as the favorite.
Gosh, I mean, it's most valuable player. His team is playing out of their shorts. They probably should have had a chance at winning that Seahawks game. I mean,
well, yeah, I know. Remember, bullshit call. They didn't have a chance at it.
But maybe that was their payback. They deflated that call for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, football, like, it's kind of depressing because it's like, it's going to be the Patriots probably steamrolling someone in the Super Bowl.
Well, I don't know. I mean, every time. I mean, if the Seahawks make it, the Seahawks are going to play them close, even if they're an inferior team, just because of the whole revenge factor.
It's not the same, though. Their O-line just is not what it was when they won it 3 years ago? Or 2 years ago?
No, I mean, yeah, the year they demolished the Broncos, they're a completely different team.
You know, and like I think Belichick is a good enough coach that he'll know how to just tear through that line and just get at the quarterback. And what running back does that team have, really? I mean, like, the running back situation is just cancer, you know, unless Marshawn Lynch comes out of retirement and runs beast mode. No, they've got no one to run.
That would be great if he just came out of retirement just for the Super Bowl. Like, hey, guys, I'm back.
I don't think you can. I think you have to be on the roster.
Or just by the playoffs.
Yeah, there's something stupid, some stupid rule like that. But I mean, like, if they can't run the ball, which it's starting to look like they won't, I don't see Rawls being healthy, even though he's probably going to be back. Like, what are they going to do? Like, their amazing wide receiver core? Yeah, man, I trust Tyler Lockett to make that catch, or to make that catch without the threat of a Marshawn Lynch, you know, not giving me full coverage.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, so the Seahawks are probably, they'll be. They'll
go to the playoffs, definitely.
Oh yeah, definitely a playoff team. I mean, they're definitely
unless the Rams pull off a victory in Seattle. And then find one net victory.
Didn't they already beat Seattle? No, they beat them at home. They beat them at home.
But if they can win, if the Rams win in Seattle, I like their odds of winning the division a lot more.
God, that would just be stupid. They make the playoffs. That would just be. I would love to bet against the Rams so much.
Oh man, yeah, no, I mean, Jared Goff comes out and just tears it up, but they're not going to make the playoffs because the Dolphins are going to beat them this Sunday. I'm going to be at that game wearing my Tannehill jersey. It will be fantastic. It's going to be amazing. They're going to win bigly.
They're definitely going to win bigly.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah, they're going to replace them with something terrific.
You see how bad Phillip Rivers was at the end of that game? Like, let's just throw a 60-yard pick six, and then let's throw another pick on, like, the first play of the next drive.
Yeah, I think that was Phillip Rivers just being like, I'm so done being down 4 with 30 seconds to go. Like, because that's literally Phillip Rivers every game is, oh, I just tied it. Oh, look, they just came back and took the lead. I'm down 4 with 30 seconds to go and no timeout.
I've got 12 kids I got to get home to and make 12 lunches for. I got shit to do.
Yeah, no, it's weird to think that. What if the Philip Rivers Eli Manning trade had never happened?
Gosh, well, that was Saints Chargers, right? Or no?
No. Eli was drafted by the Chargers, and his family's like, no, hell no, we're not playing for the Chargers, so they traded him to the Giants for the Philip Rivers pick, which was eventually Philip Rivers, obviously. So
that'd be an interesting scenario. I mean, I'm not that big. I don't know that much about football, like more than 5 years beyond. Unfortunately, I'm not that knowledgeable. I'm trying to become more knowledgeable, but it's like, oh wow, all the Ryan Leaf. What's a Ryan Leaf? Is that like a version of Pokemon or something? Like what is that?
He's Jared Goff's comparison. Well, yeah, because I mean, Wentz is second. Like, if Goff's terrible, then Peyton Manning was second. Like, that's the whole thing. Oh, you could have had Peyton Manning, but instead.
So like he'll be like the Kevin Durant to the Greg Oden, yeah.
yeah, exactly. He's
now in Greg Oden's defense, he did tear it up when he played, but knees have a way of ruining careers.
Did you also hear that the Browns had like 6 chances to draft Dak Prescott?
Even worse, the Rams had. They could have kept all their picks and still drafted Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I know. And the Eagles actually, I was kind of terrified that the Eagles traded all this for the rookie guy. And obviously, once I saw Wentz, I was perfectly worth it. But then the fact that we traded Bradford and got that first-round pick back is fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's just fucking crazy.
Eagles management's just like, we're going to get rid of Chip Kelly, and then they made everything better.
The Eagles were like the reverse of the Cleveland Browns this year. They're like the opposite of the Cleveland Browns. Like, where the Browns fuck up everything in the draft, the Eagles were like, well, we're just going to wing it, and it all worked out.
Yeah, no, I got to hand it to Howie Roseman and the Eagles management. I am very, very satisfied with the product so far. I mean, I went into this season not thinking we were going to win 5 games, and the fact that we already won 5 games is great. I mean, we have an outside chance at the playoffs, so we just got to win our division games.
Yeah, I mean, if you win your division games, the Eagles are in the playoffs, no doubt.
Well, so we have to win all 3 of our division games, and then we have the Ravens, the Packers, and the Seahawks on the schedule, and we have to theoretically beat. I think at least looking at the schedule, we need to beat 1 out of those 3.
Well, the Packers are a very beatable team.
Oh, yeah, Packers are definitely beatable. I think we have them at home. We play the Seahawks this week in Seattle, so that's probably a loss. But if we somehow miraculously won that game, I'd feel a lot more confident, the next time we chat. And then,
I mean, I think you can beat the Seahawks. I mean, the Seahawks have won a lot of close games. And if Kenny Britt could just put his hands up and catch a football, they'd be 5-3, and the Dolphins would be 1 game back of the Patriots. But, Kenny Britt decides not to catch that ball wide open 10 yards away from Richard Sherman. No. Thanks, Kenny Britt.
Yeah, it's a couple regrettable because the Dolphins only really have themselves to blame. Losing that game at home to Tennessee.
Yeah, but that was ugly. They got run all over. I mean, the Dolphins don't have the run defense to win this year. They're giving up too many points, and they're -2 net points, yet still above 500. It's like, I'll take it, but you gotta deny the other team points.
Yeah, no, and I still don't. Yeah, time will tell if Tannehill is actually a franchise quarterback.
I know, but it's been so long. We've had so much time to look at him. Like, yeah, he gets hit all the time, but is that really enough to say? I mean, it's not like we gave up a lot for him. It was like, what, a 13th pick? I mean, could have had a nice defensive
rounder, but still, yeah. I mean, for someone who's played for as many years as he had, I mean, yeah, it's just the Eagles got super lucky. Like, Wentz is like, great.
It's not like Tannehill's been benched for someone. It's not like he doesn't have like many of the other. He's not like a Blaine Gabbert type pick,
and he's also had a lot of horrible offensive coordinators. And
gosh.
Philbin didn't know how to coach. I mean, that was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was an ugly period there. Yeah, just like.
I mean, then you got like meathead freaking, I forget his name.
Is it Gase or is he the coach?
No, the guy who was the coach right after Philbin.
Oh, it's like Joe.
It was last year's coach. I forget his name, but
gosh,
the fact that you don't even remember.
Yeah, I don't remember it. Like, I don't even remember. It was someone else.
Yeah, the guy who was like, "We're gonna do suicide drills and like run at each other without pads," and it's like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, when you all go down with injuries, yeah, I'll thank you for that.
Yeah, like I think one of his famous things is he like tore one of the names off the locker room and like slammed it down or something like that.
I
Like,
would not be surprised. I mean, Miami has a mess of a locker room. I mean, come on. There was this is how bad Miami's locker room is. There was a bullying scandal between 300-pound offensive linemen. Yes, somehow giant men can still bully each other. How does this even happen?
and you realize that investigation is still underway. They still have not come to a conclusion about the bullying.
I'm like 160 pounds. I could not bully someone who was 300 pounds, and even if I was 300 pounds, But someone who's 140 pounds could not bully me.
Yeah, look at it. Incognito is still in the league, playing pretty well for the Buffalo, and Martin's completely out of the league. Nobody wants him.
I don't blame him. I mean, he's someone that lacks that much of a spine.
Yeah, I feel like football's the one place where it's like you got bullied. Why didn't you punch him back?
Yeah. Yeah, I do not condone violence of any kind. I think, I'm not saying defend your damn self, but if someone just insults you, don't punch them in the face.
Yeah, but in that kind of culture, that's almost what's expected to a certain extent, or at least like to get back in their face and start, talking back or whatever.
Well, I mean, I think you just outperform them and you show better. You win.
If it is truly a meritocracy, that would be the.
I think that's what it should be. A meritocracy. The best lineman gets out there, and don't be an asshole. Don't use racial slurs against other people in the locker room, because guess what? Your entire half your defense, at least half your defense, and most of your wide receivers all look like that.
Yeah, no, it's just like Riley Cooper. Like they had to get rid of got rid of him way too late, even though they got rid of him last year.
Okay, Riley Cooper's probably a scumbag, but did he do it in an official capacity? What was he, just super redneck? I don't know enough about Riley Cooper because I'm not an Eagles fan, but what?
I'm pretty sure he was just super redneck. But I mean, it's besides the point. Like Chip Kelly basically just set a bad image by keeping the white receiver and then trading Deshaun Jackson.
Okay. Well, let's be fair. Okay, Riley Cooper is not going to cost Deshaun Jackson money or Jeremy Maclin money. I think Chip Kelly's ultimate crime is that he's a cheap guy. He's cheap.
Well, and he thinks that anybody can fit in his system. I mean, I think his arrogance is showing in San Francisco, too. He hasn't changed his style at all. It's, we're just going to hurry up because it works.
Yeah, it's going to work, man. I got a quarterback now that can run circles around there. I'm going to make Blaine Gabbert relevant.
I mean, Kaepernick's not the reason they're losing by any means, but he's also the reason they're not winning, so.
He's not helping.
Yeah, he's just not. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things wrong with that.
I'll give it. Kaepernick is and maybe just below Andy Dalton level, at replacement.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, he's Andy Dalton if Andy Dalton can move a little bit.
Yeah, he can run.
With way worse accuracy, because Andy Dalton doesn't have accuracy. I mean, Colin Kaepernick can't throw the ball straight to save his life.
I mean, I'm sure if he had Tavon Austin or something, just run, just chuck it down the field, and if Tavon could track a ball to save his life, can do that.
Well, that's the thing. Kaepernick was good when he had good receivers and a really good running back and a good offensive line and a really good defense.
Did he have good receivers?
I mean, he had Anquan Boldin, who at least was open.
No, but that was not the first Super Bowl. That was the second NFC Champ game, right?
No, he had Anquan in the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure.
Not against the Ravens.
Boldin was on the Ravens. Never mind.
Yeah, no, he didn't. I mean, he had Michael Crabtree. He had Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis when he decided to play.
Yeah, Vernon Davis. He had. Did he have? No, not Torrey Smith was still in the Ravens at that point.
Yeah. How many Ravens go to San Francisco? Guys, I don't like Baltimore. If I'm going to get all my progressiveness, I'm going to go to San Francisco where it's nice.
Well, no, I mean that's. I'm sure that the brothers made a decision hey, whoever wins the Super Bowl, we're going to help out the other and give them all of our good players.
And then they said, yeah, screw this. I'm going to Michigan. I'm going back to Michigan to coach college because that's where the money is.
Yeah, then get beat by Iowa.
I don't watch any college football, to be honest, but I mean, all these public universities paying their coaches $5 million a year. What? Come on, you get outraged about CEOs making X times their players, but you got college coaches making infinity times their players. And
I can go on about that. I've actually honestly enjoyed college football more than I've enjoyed pro football this season, but it is completely morally terrible, the fact that I actually watch it.
But you understand the purpose of college football and college sports, right?
Yeah, it's horribly.
You know why there's no college baseball scene, right? Because baseball has a long-developed farm system that deals with young talent, and football and basketball and all these sports decided, well, screw that. We're not going to pay for our farm systems. You know what? We have all these colleges. People like to play sports at college. We're just going to have all of them develop our talent, weed out all the trouble kids, except Johnny
Yeah.
Manziel and a few other, Jamarcus Russell, have them
Yeah.
weed out over talent, and we'll pass it off on the taxpayers because these are mostly public universities.
Yeah, no, it's pretty ridiculous. And then and then the fact that these players don't get paid at all.
Okay, look, I don't think they should get paid. I mean, like, dude, you're getting like a top tier education without yes, some of them are really smart and are able to get into that university, but a lot of these kids could not get into that university on their own. That's an expensive seat they're filling. It's not that they're getting nothing. It's just they're not getting much value from the university.
Well, they should at least be able to get like money from not money necessarily as in like they should get like a paycheck, but like I mean the fact that you have some college athletes who are the stars of the school can't sell their own jerseys and
absolutely
money for food.
No, I agree. I think this amateur argument is bullshit. I don't think they should have to pay them, but I think you should be allowed to sell your own jersey, to sell autographs.
They should also be able to negotiate their own contracts, though, too, right? I mean, if you're going to come to your school and play at your school for 4 years or for 2 years or whatever, and honestly, if you had it that way, you might have less. Might have people who actually stay and graduate. If you actually had them like contractually obligated to stay, kind of thing.
No, and I agree, and I think you should be allowed. You should be allowed to have someone buy you food without getting suspended from the NCAA. Like if I want to buy my favorite college player a pizza, I should be allowed to buy him a pizza without opening a freaking NCAA case. Okay, it's just like
I know, and it's just pretty much every school is involved with it. It's just a question of when they'll get caught.
Hey man, my alma mater does not have a football team, yet the Rams trained there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We don't even have a football team, but we have a facility good enough for the professional football team to train there.
I got lost on your campus once because we had meetings there. Just wandering around, and it's just like, I don't know where I'm going.
No, it is kind of a zoo. Did you go to Middle Earth Housing?
We have not.
We have a token building. We do have a token building. It's awesome.
I saw Rise Against there a long time ago.
Oh, nice. I went there to go see Milo. That was the last time I've gone back there, and unfortunately, there wasn't enough seats because the campus prevented us from getting a decent-sized auditorium. And then when they went back, I didn't get a notification until like, oh, by the way, it's in 3 days, and I'm like, I can't pre-register. Yeah,
that sucked.
Yeah, it sucked. But I mean, I got to see him wave. I got to see him in person. It was pretty cool. But
I got to go to a Hillary Clinton rally.
How many people were there? Was there like 10 people?
No. Actually, we couldn't get in. There were so many people. It was like an impromptu thing in a high school, and there were so many people. We had to stand outside and listen to it on a megaphone thing.
I actually attended a Trump rally.
So did my family. Don't tell me how much I'm like pissed off.
So here's the thing. It was at the Orange County Fairgrounds, and I was like 5,000th in line, and I got almost to the front, and I could not get in. I was so disappointed. I just listened to it from outside and then headed home. I met a nice Asian girl there. It was pretty awesome. Yeah, she's just like, I just want to hear what he has to say. I was like, oh, cool. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I would be interested. It would have been interesting.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun because I got to talk to a lot of the people. I got to see like all 20 protesters there holding their signs and yelling at us. It was nice. It was like, wow, this is the most politically involved I've been in my life.
Yeah, it's like walking into a Planned Parenthood.
Hey man, we got that's abortion's a very simple issue for me. The woman has constitutional rights, the fetus doesn't. Done. End of discussion. Now, if you can convince people that the unborn fetus has constitutional rights, fine. Guess what? Outlawed the next day.
Yeah, but I don't think they do.
Okay, same here. I don't think they do either. Yeah. So I think we've had a good talk. It's gone pretty long.
Yeah, no, I think we got almost an hour and a half, hour and a half. So yeah, do you want to like look it over and do some editing, and then I'll look it over and do some editing, and we'll kind of talk from there?
How about you do some editing, and I'll check your edits and make sure it's all good. I mean.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. I will. I'll get started on that this week.
All right. So I'm going to stop the recording here. I just want to say to all of our listeners, wherever you are in the future, thanks for listening, and we hope you come back to see us again next time we're doing this. I've been Ghost Politics. This is my friend Nick, and I'm going to let him sign off.
Yeah, and everybody have a good night.